Sound check. All right, testing sound. Testing sound. Sounds good to me. What's up, Patrick? Well, this is my favorite season. My favorite season of all. Small cap. I love my small cap stocks because they can move. They can give you 8-10% in one day, but they're only happy when they're happy. And right now, if we look at the NASDAQ, big opening downdraft on the NASDAQ. But over in IWM land, the Russell 2000, there was none of that. So mental note, you guys, that's one of the first things I noticed about today, the backdrop of this market. Small caps are playing catch up, and it's no surprise as they technically planted the flag of the 200 SMA. There's the rejection of the 200 SMA in the Russell 2000. These are the small caps, everybody. Forget the big caps, forget the Apples, Amazon, NVDAs. These are the small cap stocks. And when they get moving, they're a lot of fun. But you need confirmation. I'll talk about some of the names that I'm in a minute. A lot of them are small caps, but this is go time. This is green light. This is the time in the casino when the card counters go all in because they know that the advantage is with them. So you turn to your favorite small cap stocks. Well, there's too many to name. I tell you what, these drone stocks have been making a lot of noises lately, and I am in two of them. I'm in UAVS, and I'm also in ONDS, but there's many other names to choose from. That UMAC just popped. And I was noticing before I came live, look at the trade of the week from a couple weeks ago, this Symbotic. This is just symbolic of the new paradigm that's coming to our economy, our manufacturing, our domestic production, right? We all know the commitments that are being made by countries left and right. They're drawing up blueprints right now to build these giant gigafactories. They're going to use the nanotechs to run and power the gigafactories. But who's going to staff the gigafactories? Well, it's not going to be human beings at the Henry Ford model anymore. It's going to be robots. And Sim, if you look them up, they are like a turnkey, already established. They will build out your warehouse and make you like an Amazon of efficiency. That's the future. So these charts are showing us the future, you guys. Nice, Jim. Yes, Jim made some money. Now, why did I like that so much? Well, I just told you the story of why I liked it. But my God, it's the perfect scenario, the perfect storm. Why the hell are 30, it's down to 36% now. This is what I call the A table. When you have a chart with a great story and a great chart, and you've got a stubborn contingency of 35, 36% short, they're just asking for it. So that's why this thing is running so strong, and I'm kicking myself for really not being in it any longer. However, I'm learning my lesson. I'm learning my lesson now that you don't want to get out too soon in short squeezes, which brings me to Hertz. I came in long Hertz today. I am out of 138. Did you guys catch Andy's Trader TV this morning? What was he talking about? I'll actually give somebody a chance just to see if somebody was watching. Do I find much value in the RSB? No, not really. I'm simpleton, David. I'll go for SPY and IWM and Q just to kind of see what's going on. Yeah, so to answer the query I gave, Andy was talking about the hybrid of swing trading and day trading. I call it swing scalping. He calls it sway trading. Loading, and Brian Shannon does this too. Load up on something, And then when the move comes, you don't stand there and jump up and do a victory lap and run around your house. No, you start plotting where you're going to start. So came in along a lot of hertz this morning. Sold some there, and some there, and then some there. So then I think I sold a little bit more. So now I'm down to 1/3 position. This is exactly what Andy was talking about this morning. You have banked such a good locked in profit on a giant move that, and mind you, I've been patient for the last few days. I've been sitting in this thing, but eventually your wave comes and you ride it and then you take advantage of it. Now I don't care that I just had a break of my momentum candle. Why don't I care? Because I'm not in profit taking mode anymore. I'm in sit mode. So what lesson was I trying to learn from SYM? Strong stocks, strong charts that have giant short floats, they don't stop quickly. They tend to keep going. So this Hertz is in the back of my mind. And by the way, I'm showing you guys my trades as I always do. I'm not telling anybody to buy or sell anything. I'm just showing you, and you'd be probably wise to mark some of these things up, because these are the stocks that I'm playing. I think a lot of newbies don't understand when they come into my session. I'm not sitting here relying on so much trade ideas scanners to tell me what to trade. I'm already familiar with the names that I want to trade. And so I see them light up on my new highs and new lows. And I get a feel for the market. This is a great tool right here. The thumbnail gives me a great tool in the daily chart. I can look back even deeper, just dropping that monthly thumbnail in there. I can see Hertz has a lot of room to run. This right here is a kind of a market pulse. It's just, some people call it a worm. We call it a compare count window. I like to see, the green moving higher. That means that individually, the breadth of the market is strong. More stocks are making new highs than are making new lows. If some bad news were to come out, you'd see this red line spike and you'd see that decline. So I use a combination of the trade ideas, real-time tools, but I recently did a video too on how to properly trade. Like, Andy talks about your watch list, your favorite names. Pretty much every name on here is my favorite names, and they're kind of broken down. We've got the drone stocks. We've got nano nukes on here. I will say this. I'm licking my chops for tomorrow. I trade a cash account, which is my 401k account, which means it's not a margin account. And the more I think about it, I've never traded so well in my life, because this is a really important concept. The cash account forces me to trade patiently. It's almost like I have a genie that says, you got 4 good trades today. You better choose them wisely. Don't be jumping into them all in the first 30 minutes. And so on a day like today, I'm going to look at a few stocks in the quants. I'm going to show you a few that I'm marking up for tomorrow, Qubit being one of them. You can see I've already put a blue line in here. I like to trade, groups of rotational stocks. And right now, the small caps, the new names, these quants, I would definitely categorize them as small caps. They have had a nice surge, but once they start to pull back 1, 2, 3, 4 days, you got to just take them off your screen, because the jump rope will come around again and set back up. And boy, is it. I mean, there's a lot of really nice flags that are starting to show up out there. IO and Q, look at that flag. Might be a day early in that one. Rigati. So tomorrow, you guys, I've got a certain amount of cash. I took profits on some things, Hertz being one of them. So now I can recycle that cash into tomorrow. And I'm already leading. I'm already waiting for my pitch. I'm sitting on long quants tomorrow. So I'm going to go through and probably set some price alerts, but I'm going to be mainly focusing on some quant stocks tomorrow, because I feel like that's where the rotation might turn to. It's been a few days. Qubits too is another one. ARQQ is kind of a messy chart, but they're all kind of flagging. Everybody knows what I think a bull flag is. A stock that's trending higher and then chops sideways for a few days. Now, in a perfect world, I like to see this 10 SMA get tested on these little chop fests. So maybe we're a day early, and that might work out perfectly. Back to my cash account concept, is it forces me to be very patient on my entries and my exits because I can't jump back in once I sell it at the end of the day. So, David, yeah, I don't find much in the RSP. I just use the SPY out of curiosity, though. There's the SPY. Differently weighted RSP moving higher. Yeah, there's something to be said there for sure. Equal weight. It's the small caps having their turn, right? This is just a further confirmation, David, that the Amazons and the NVIDIAs and Apples are not running the main indexes. In my world, they all should be like this, RSP equal weighted. So maybe I should use it more. You just helped me kind of get a new little piece of the puzzle there, David. That's appreciated. What's the consensus on what happens with markets when they ban short selling up 20% in one day? Well, Glenn, I'm going to qualify that. I don't think they're going to ban short selling. If they do, I would be surprised. I think they're going to, and my hope is they're going to crack down on naked short selling. And that's the kind of thing that, you know, a blockchain type of technology could verify. The blockchain allows for no slippage, no dark pool, no bullshit outside of the quantifiable blockchain that you can go back and audit. That's the key word, audit. So I can see them moving the markets to more of a blockchain type of audit, because right now, as it is, the naked short selling is just egregiously out of control. You know, I love Michael Noss, but he and I used to butt heads on our podcast and do point counterpoint. I said there is naked short selling, and he said there isn't. But I do believe there is. And if there ever is a headline coming out of the new SEC administration, you better watch GameStop real quick. You better watch AMC real quick. And you better watch DJT, Trump's company, real quick. These are stocks that have all been accused of third-party derivatives, dark pool options, all these little tricks outside of the tape, time and sales that we all see to drive the price down. Now, you're not allowed to do that unless you have a stock certificate that you can borrow against. And that's the whole thing of naked short selling. If you've got 200 million certificates, well, you can't have 260 million at longs and shorts. Here goes our ONDS. So maybe we're going to get this move here that I'm already positioned in. UMAC did this earlier. These are the drone stocks. Again, they're small caps. I'm in UAVS and ONDS. So ONDS, just a little pop there. No interest in selling this today because it feels like this could be the beginning of something. So I just start to move my targets up higher and maybe it'll move. All right. Yeah, distorted impressions for sure, dude. This is, you know, coming out of Canada, more specifically, British Columbia. There's something about British Columbia that were just some of the darkest small cap, white collar thieves that would create pump and dumps, and just a lot of the market scams for some reason came out of British Columbia. So yeah, just to finish my thought, I hope and to see soon the headlines that the SEC is going to do something. All it takes is one headline to scare the living crap out of the naked short sellers who know they're doing something wrong. And you'll see probably an immediate reaction if we ever get that headline. There's smart money versus dumb money, plot or scan. No, not that I could think of, other than options, Jerry B. So let me show you what we have for options, because that's the smart money, they say, always runs to the options. You get the best leverage and you kind of get the most anonymity. So if you go to any config window and type in options in the keyword, you'll see the total list. Not much, but it's important because these filters can show you options volume today is an important one. Like if you use a value of 300% minimum on options value, that means that based on our database looking back, stock XYZ for some reason is doing 3 times more normal options volume today than it normally would. So this is a really good filter you could incorporate into any of your scans and then use like a 300 or 400% for the minimum. Because that's really to the crux of your question. The smart money, does that mean the early money? They know something we don't. Nancy and all the other Congress people made their money in options because it was a sure thing. They kind of knew what was going to happen. And when you've got that much conviction, well, you'd be wise to lever yourself into an options contract. And so that's why the thought is that that's where the smart money is always resting. Tesla is an interesting one. It's been tough to trade with all the stupid headlines. As you can see, gaps up and gap down, but it's under pressure here. It had a nice drive on the open, but now it's given way a little bit. And it's spiked right into the 10 SMA. Tesla's going to need some positive headlines probably to pull itself out of that funk. Hello, Easy Beasy. Institutional traders versus retail. Yeah, same concept. Another thing you could use for institutionals block trade alert, Jerry. You could say, show me stocks that have like a 500,000 share print block. And then if you pull that chart up and you see it's been selling off, and then boom, a big million block or a 500,000 share block or a couple of those come out. That's oftentimes what the institutions would do is what they call like a clean out order. They're not on the trading platforms. They're on the telephones on the upper floors talking to each other, trying to make deals for giant blocks of stock. And the market makers work the price down to those levels, and then they agree upon a price, and then that price hits the tape as what they call a block trade. And that can usually, if you pull up that chart, and like I said, it's been moving in one direction for a long time, then you see that clean out block. That can be an interesting concept. You can ask about the money machine, but you probably won't like my answer because I don't really have many answers. I'm basically waiting for the green light to start testing internally the simulated portion. And when we get to that point, I'm going to internally test something like this scan right here, my short seller scan, which all these stocks that are up the most that have the biggest short squeeze, that's what's going to be interesting to me when I first start testing the money machine. So I don't have any dates other than I'm waiting with bated breath over the next few days that I'll be able to start internally testing, and it'll be a big switch. Will it trade during pre-market? No, I doubt it will, and that's for your protection. I feel bad, honestly, for people, and I've seen that say, hey, I really want to get into trading, but I've got to work my normal job, and pre-market's the only time that I have that I can vote. Well, I don't think of a good analogy. I want to learn to swim, but I want to learn to swim with the alligators. So it's not a good scenario. If you're forced to trade pre-market, you're already kind of at a disadvantage. The liquidity is so thin, and when you're wrong, you can be so wrong. And since the spreads are so wide and the liquidity is so low, there's no mechanism for us to deploy to allow people to just manually jump in and jump out, because the market money machine is basically going to be a market in, market out, market in, market out. And you need liquidity. You need 1 cent spreads, half-cent spreads. You need a lot of regular market liquidity to accomplish that. And that can't be done in the pre-market. And again, I feel bad for people who are regulated to their time during the day. That's the only time they can focus. That's kind of a bummer, because that's the toughest time of day. So Glenn, you could use Brokerage Plus and the money machine at the same time. Now, Brokerage Plus is what you would use to trade pre-market. Now, don't get me wrong, I trade pre-market all the time. I pop into my Thinkorswim dashboard and boom, external pre-market 13-hour plus. We've all seen that. I can trade as early as 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific. And I'll do that all the time. And I might even be up tomorrow nibbling on a few quant stocks just to kind of get them on the radar at 4 a.m. So if that's your question about the money machine, if I missed something, go ahead and ask. Raja, but I don't really have much more info than that. How does SC positive marker price plot relate to sentiment? So as we see, there's a little spike right here in the red that's coming up. So if it's a momentary, it's a pulse, okay? It's just, I don't want to get too confused, but you can see it really correlates with what we just saw in the SPY. Just a little bit of pullback in the SPY correlates with an uptick in the stocks that are already weak today, making new lows. At the same time, this little pullback in the market is just not enough to kind of resuscitate stocks to start making new highs again. But if we dig in here and start to turn green, we could see this little uptick turn higher. So there's always kind of a correlation between what's happening in the indexes and what's happening in the pulse of new highs versus new lows. All right. I'm caught up on questions. I'm going to go through my positions. Now, most of these I brought into today. A couple I purchased today. I'll tell you which ones, but Hertz, as I already told you, I jackpot on that one. Yahtzee, held for 3 days. I got my move, surfed my move, took 2/3 off. Now I'm just playing around and won. What happened to go, no go in the race? There's still a go, no go channel. And there's still races. If you want to turn any top list into a race, I could turn this watch list into a real-time race. Any T window, you just right click and you can turn into a race. So that should be the case. Andy showed me lift. I'll just go to this one this morning. I've been waiting for this one to pull back. I tried it up here and I had to sell, sold half and then had to sell. Okay, the race. The race is just a way of, instead of looking at this Excel spreadsheet format, I can't really tell if NNE is strong and moving up the chart. I can't really tell if UAVS is once strong and moving down the chart. But if we launch a real-time race and just base that on, change from the close, now it's sampling everything in this little window here. And it's just going to run a 10-minute segment. And of all the stocks that are in here, it's going to start to show me which ones are strong in terms of change from the close. Haven't really seen anything move yet. Just try that. It's based on whatever you want. There we go. So now we're starting to get some movement. So it's basically just taking this top list and kind of turning it to life. And what happens is after you let it run for about an hour, you start to get a list of names over here. And what this does is these list of names show you the winners. This is the winner circle. And so it gives you a watch list for today. So it's just kind of a way of bringing things to the surface that are hard to see on the grid format. Winner is too late. No, it's just kind of showing. The winners will show you what's strong for today. So ideally, it doesn't mean that you jump in and buy it. It means that maybe you watch it for a pullback. Easy. You start to say, oh, look, this stock, and this stock have each won a few races already today. So they're strong. But now I'm looking at that winners list. They're not winning the current 10-minute race, but they're pulling back. And this is an interesting level. So the idea is to try and maybe buy strong stocks on pullback. And that list of winners is basically just saying, hey, there's 8,000 stocks out there, but here's some quick strong ones based on this table that are doing well and they're showing strength. So you can use them as a dynamic watch list each day. Those names change and new names pop in there. Is there a quick and dirty way to select who's going to be in the race? No, it's just basically it's going to select. I think it gives you the ability. Oh, by the way, you can go to our documents and look for the section on races. But when I launch a race, if I go to configure, it gives you the ability. Oops. show race setup, excuse me. To change all of these, I have to hit stop first. Now I can change the value. I can change the sort, descending, ascending, total race lane. So if I want to have more, I can put 20 in there. So this is your configuration window for how you want to dynamically bring a top list to life. All right, I see some stuff going to highs here for me nicely. Let me continue through my positions because it's kind of a good day here. Tesla, I told you it's hard to trade, but I'm sitting in it. I like it fundamentally. It's probably more of an investment. ONDS are starting to do really well. I've been in and out of these drone stocks for a while. They've been making a lot of noise and then pulling back. But with today, UMAC, I'm not in that one, but that one took off. I am in UAVS. That's not doing anything at the moment. MindMed. I've been liking this one for a while. You guys know that. And then there was some talk about tariffs on pharmaceutical companies, which immediately, I'm also in Kodak, shot Kodak up right here. And then Kodak's confirmed, they go, yeah, we're building a couple of plants to build basic pharmaceutical chemicals. So people who want to come to this country and build their pharmaceuticals here, we can sell them domestic chemicals tariff-free. Get it? Tariff, there's the story. So MindMed is also competing with the pharmaceutical industry. And I just feel like RFK is one headline away from, well, the VA is already announcing psychedelics for VA hospital PTSD, but RFK Jr. could start talking about, hell, he could talk about taking pharmaceuticals TV ads away, and it would probably help MindMed. Natural pharmaceutical psychedelics instead of pharmaceuticals. Teladoc, right? Trade of the week. Yep, I'm eating my own dog food on this one. I actually bought it a little bit earlier. It was a safe trigger for a lot, but I was buying it down here. Now it got up here, and I said to Andy, now what? It hit the 200-day, and it was trading through, and I said, I feel like I have to sell half. So I did. Sold half. Now I don't care that it pulled back because I locked in half up here. So any time we start to get a stock that's way above this 5-day moving average here, it's time to start thinking about taking a little off because it's just going to be a magnet to try and pull it back. And likewise, I try to create brand new entries as close as I can to the 5-day. I was noticing Tesla is battling the 5-day. So I want to see this blue line hold as support for Tesla. All right, let's see. What else do I got? Kodak, talked about that. Teladoc, talked about that. UAVS, talked about that. Andy got me into Lyft this morning. I loved the contrarian entry. I love how it was sold off all day yesterday. Sold off as a spike down on the open, ran all the stops. Everybody ran there, get me out, market stop. And then it spiked up. And then the minute it held right about there, I looked over here and saw that that corresponded to the 50-day moving average. After faking out all these people, all right, this is how you contrarian trade. It's hard to buy this and expect that to continue, but it's showing its true colors. It just wants to shake people out first. So this morning, Andy brought this to my attention, and I said, oh, yeah, that's 100% a shakeout. I want to get in this. So now I've had not much pain. I'm trying CRNC again. Brian Shannon showed me this one. It's taken some money from me the last few days. Didn't break out, as you can see. I played the opposite of contrarian, and I took some off. Thank God I sold half up here, but I gave that half back, being stubborn down here. Now I'm revisiting it down here. I bought it actually near lows this morning, just a 1/3 starter size. I didn't have much cash left. Bull, here's another one that I've been watching lately. Webull. It just seems to have come to life. It's kind of a new issue, and it got ahead of itself last week, and I think there was some purchase. Somebody bought a stake in it or something, so it brought it down, but it's trending back up. But the markets are breaking out again at highs. It's bringing interest. That's why you guys are here. It's bringing interest back into the market again. Oh my God, Patrick, XRP. Wow. XRP. The X stocks are doing really well today. I just wanted to point that out. Why does the left chart, okay, show data beyond 725? Because bull, as you can see there, is a new issue. I was trying to think of the other one. eToro and Webull are kind of similar. They just went public recently. So you can see in my monthly thumbnail down here, it's kind of confused. But if I bring up Intel, the monthly thumbnail comes right back to life. Good catch, Glenn. Okay, so easy. These are SMAs. I don't use EMAs. But most importantly, starting on the intraday here, the 10 SMA tells me momentum is intact. And look at Intel. Intel popped, pulled back, and this is where I would like to buy strong stocks. Because if strong stocks are going to stay strong, they're going to hold that 10 SMA on a 15-minute chart. Now, that is a 10 SMA, like I said. Hold on a second. Okay, I thought I was answering a question. Yeah, the SMAs. Okay, now the blue one here is my 5-day SMA, but notice, I'm going to show you something here. Notice that it's set to 130. So Brian Shannon showed me this 130 gives us a smoothed out 5-day moving average. Now I could use a 5-day moving average over here, but it's just going to show me more lines I don't want to see. So it cleans it up for me. And these are my two go-to lines on the 15-minute time frame. I use them religiously. So that's the 15-minute chart. Over here is nothing simpler. Same thing. 10 SMA is my momentum on the daily. 20 SMA, there's the backstop. See right there how it acted as a backstop? So when the 10 breaks, I give it the 20. If the 20 breaks, I don't want to be anywhere near it. Then that's the 50. And then that is the 200. So speaking of the 200, that's what I was talking about with Teladoc with Andy earlier. It got rejected at the 200 before. It came back and it pierced through it, but then the sellers jumped in. So, you know, when a stock is coming up underneath like that, that 200-day moving average just becomes a target for me to sell. No, Glenn, we don't have bid and ask. We don't have level 2. All we have is level 1 data, and we've got some filters that can show you the spread, but you have to get that from your broker, essentially. All right, what else? HYMC. I bought this yesterday. This one had a big liquidity event. I think it sold off on whatever you want to call it, offerings. It's been doing nothing. And then I noticed yesterday that some of these mining stocks were just really strong. So this is one of my favorite. Patrick knows that. Brokerage plus bid ask. It might. I don't know if we go to columns. Yep, bid and ask. Thank you. So if I connect and I want to look, excuse me, rum. Let's say I want to buy rum. Simulated market. Okay, so bid ask, there you go. So in a sense, we can do it. Thank you, David. And you can, of course, kind of keep those in view the way you like. So we're always going to have level 1, which is what you're seeing, bid ask. We just don't have level 2 books. That is a good question. Making them available on, well, see, here's the thing. The single stock window runs off of this menu. And when it comes to bid and ask, we don't really have it. All we have is spread. So Brokerage Plus is running off of a different server. It's running off of a different animal. It's pulling data from a different area, so to speak. What else do I have? Oh, Andy and I have been sitting, not always, but I don't know how long, in this GFAI. Supposedly, this is another robotics, and robotics has been very interesting. All consider drones part of robotics. We talked earlier at the beginning of the hour, trade of the week, symbiotic robotics. So this GFAI, it's a foreign company. It's got AI in the name, but what I basically said was, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. I'm going to see if it can break above the 200. In that case, excellent. Sit on my hands and hopefully make money. Or if it closes, if it rolls over and closes below the 50, I'm out. So I'm playing this pinch play here in GFAI. I basically found a small cap name that is supposedly a small AI robotics company. Logistics, robotics, AI, security. So I'm in that. And then DJT. That's the last of my portfolio right now. It doesn't bother me at all that DJT is sliding back 3 days. If you heard me talking about naked shorting earlier, I think one of the reasons I'm sitting in this thing sheepishly is I got a great price. I bought it down here in the 17s. But if we get a headline that the SEC or FINRA is going to start looking into naked shorting, this thing could rip along with GameStop as well, because that's where all the accusations lie. All right. I think there's a setting on the chart. I don't know of any bid-ask setting on the chart. Now, that may be the case when the new money machine comes out. They might have that incorporated. Wouldn't be a bad idea. These drone stocks, they all came to life on June, it's like 2nd. It's like somebody knew something was coming, and it's all that volume, and it didn't get lost on me, all that volume that came in on June 2nd. UMAC, that's why that looks different. There it is. There's the June 2nd volume in UMAC. Yep, only in Brokerage Plus. Oh, XRP, let's go. So there was a Senate hearing yesterday. Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple was calming many senators' nerves that one of the great things about XRP is the compliance that they've built globally, licensing. Everybody's on the same page. blockchain doesn't allow for any suspicious activity, and it was a good hearing. Money machine will only be entering trades, not exiting. No, you'll be able to do both. You can exit them manually and override, or you can just trail stop them. If you'll be using a figure like a 1% trailing stop, 1.5, and you will constantly be able to adjust those trailing stops, or you can just say, "Get me out now," and pound out. I can't wait. I'm just as excited as you guys are. Again, I'm just waiting for the word that I'm ready to go. I've got all my systems set up, but these are some of the cryptos that I'm very, very bullish on. XRP, XLM, XRP is bank to bank, cross border payments. You need XRP token to go from currency to currency in 3 seconds. You can't do that with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's like a digital bar of gold. It's a store of value. You don't go to the liquor store with a bar of gold, but you go to the liquor store, digital liquor store, so to speak, and pay in whatever currency digital you want, and they would accept it, and you'd use XRP in the bridge. XLM is peer-to-peer. It's like using Venmo, but without the bank in the middle. My ledger to your ledger, back and forth. HBAR is like licensing for music, licensing for videos. It's going to be the digital security stamp for something was paid for, somebody's getting credit for it. Apple iTunes would be the best example. When music first started, Napster was the coolest thing, right? But Napster was not compliant. It was a threat. It was offshore, pirate radio. Then the lawyers got together, and the licensing people got together, and the artists got together, and the record labels got together, and they created a digital framework. And so in the future digital framework, HBAR is what's called a hash graph, is going to allow transactions to say this is a legitimate transaction along that. And then XDC is also apparently part of the X family. And I think it's more like enterprise type use, but these are all coming to life. So if you're somebody who hasn't researched these yet, you've got access to ChatGPT. I'm going to type this out for you. ISO 20022. Research that. That's the new global language that all banks are going to be speaking to each other in. And anything that's XRP, XLM, XDC, those are designed to work on that network. Will there be quantum hardware for the money machine to deal with anticipated latency? We're testing that right now. That's one of the first things we're going to test, Glenn. They've architected a brand new server structure, and we're going to unleash it slowly internally. And so we can get the developers can get a feel for how they can build that out exponentially, what's going to be needed. And that's another reason why it's going to be limited, to the first live group as well. So it's not going to be an explosion. It's going to be a trickle release. Bandwidth. Yeah, we're going to try and figure out how the bandwidth affects it so that we know all those variables before it goes live. But if you didn't know XRP, what I was just talking about, they do have an ETF that's been recently launched here, XRPI. And I think BlackRock's coming out with, rumored to be coming out with one soon. And if they do that, then watch out. It's probably really going to be on. Yeah, we're going to find that out, Glenn, for sure. But personally speaking, I'm going to use the this list right here, my short squeeze list. because we are in a short squeeze environment. Not only we're in a super short squeeze environment, I would argue, because most of the names that are heavily shorted are going to be small cap names. And as you saw earlier, as I was talking about the IWM breaking out above the 200-day here, catching up, small caps playing catch up. And I'd hate to be short a lot of small cap names. So if I can find names that are moving quickly up and down, and I've got that extra little bit of short, magic sprinkled in there, that's my anticipation of how I'm going to be testing the money machine, which we've heard and talked so much about. That's what I'm looking forward to testing, is that particular strategy. Speaking of the NASDAQ, what's it doing? Look, this is why whoever was asking about my moving averages, this is why I use the 5-day moving average. The market is, for the most part, except for that, support. At using that, the buyers are leaning on that. They're not letting the price really dip below that. That's a very important thing. Oh, of course, Jim, I will definitely share testing feedback, and I'll even share settings with people. If I get a good scan and some good settings, I'd be happy to share. No reason not to. I just like you guys. I can't wait to get my hands on it. That lift, good call by Andy. Now I wish I had more, but I can always add to it on a pullback. All right, guys, I'll be here another 10 minutes or so. We got developers meeting. Speaking of, a lot to talk about. See, I just happened to be in Hertz already, and Hertz is on this tree map. This is one of the things that hypothetically I could be, trading in the money machine, but I found it manually. And I like this little dip right there midday. The buyers couldn't get much more than that of a pullback. So maybe Hertz can have a decent close. I'm not telling people to buy anything, just walking you through my thought process. We'll see. I got to say, whether it's if Schwab or whoever, even when I was with Interactive Brokers, there's so much dark pool midpoint liquidity out there that when you pretty much hit market, you're getting a pretty fair price, I feel like. Sometimes I even feel like I get a better price. I feel like I get really good price improvement sometimes. So with that respect, I'm not too concerned about market orders. And here's the other nice thing that's different. And if somebody hasn't thought of this conceptually now, maybe I can open your eyes to it. That's why Dan calls it next generation. The first generation, everybody was waiting for the same symbol. So the prospect for slippage was much more prevalent. Who could get to it fastest? Who could get to the liquidity faster? With the money machine, everybody's going to have different starting points, different scans. It's going to be spread out. You're not going to have the entire group chasing the same group of stocks. And that's a very important point to what Jim and Glenn are bringing up in terms of how much slippage or how much effect will it have. That's the big difference between the second generation concept and the first generation Holly. Not everybody's competing for the same thing. Rejections taken from. Hello, Ken. I call it an area of interest. Sometimes it can be super clean, just as clean as it can get, and other times you have a few different tests. Let me just see if I can find some examples here. Like ONDS, there's a close below and then a pop back above. There's a couple of wicks. I can answer you this way. I prefer to see this a hell of a lot more than I prefer to see this or this. So closing candles are always really important to me. And if I can get a wick and a spike and a close above through that, that's even better. But it kind of plays a different role. Sometimes it plays a role of, do I want to enter a trade using it? Let's move to Tesla. I'm watching it. Like right now, I'm long Tesla. And I have no desire to get out, and I have no desire to take profits. But I'm just like trying to take the temperature of Tesla. And the temperature is it broke up through it. So I basically want to see that hold. And a lot of times we get what's called a pinch play as well. So I'll get my 10 SMA to come up and pinch it. And it basically lost the 10 SMA, but the backstop of the 5 day is holding. Now, if it breaks it, I'm not going to do anything, but it just allows me to take temperature of a stock. Now, what if I'm long a stock and I'm in the money and it's in a downtrend and I'm playing oversold bounce and I'm thinking about taking profits? I'm going to use that 10 SMA just like I used. Let's go to Teledoc. You know, I did this earlier today. On the daily, I used the lid. I used that ceiling of the 200 day to take my profits. So I got long down here and I took 1/2 profit just above the 200 day right up here. So when I say they're an area of interest, it always just kind of depends. Are you long? Well, that could be a possible entry. Are you underwater and losing money? Well, then that might be your stop. Are you long and in the money and looking to take profit? Well, then that should be your target. Depending on the scenario of the trade and how it's developing, I give Brian Shannon credit. He's the one who said it. It's an area of interest. It can mean different things to different people, but I find just keeping it simple works really well for me. And when something like MindMed is above the 5 day moving average, it's really overbought. You know, it's just, I'm just waiting for the pullback at any point to come back and test it. And I might be white. How much do I have over here? You know what? I'm gonna speak my truth. I'm gonna sell some right here. I'm gonna sell a quarter because, you know, as I pull it up, I'm wedged out on the tree limb, you know, only so far with a full position. And so I'm going to lighten up a little bit. I'm going to use this opportunity. Bing, and that was me at 790 right there. So I took 1/4 off. Only because I'm sitting here talking to you guys about, you know, not trying to get too greedy sometimes and using that 5 day moving average. I just did it again. I just told myself, hey, you're really extended and you've got some good profits here. Do you want to ride a reversion to the mean back down without at least ringing the bell while you're up here? No, Steve, you don't do it. So I just did it. Will the trade ideas Holly product go to the way of the dinosaur? No, it'll actually become a component. People will be able to say, I just want to turn the money machine on. I don't have my own scam that I want to trade. I trust the Holly trades. Let's use the Holly AI as my basis for the money machine. So in that sense, it's not going away, Mike. Yeah, good question to end on. I got to run here. I'm going to be testing the money machine in-house simulation mode so we can get a feel for the load it has on our servers. That's step one. Step two is we will roll it out to users for everybody to test it in sim mode in our next beta release. I don't have a date for that, but what has to happen before that is internally everything has to go good and we test and we don't see any major issues. Beyond the release of the simulated mode for the beta version for people to play with, that's the point in time in which everybody kind of, you know, gets their concepts together and does their strategizing and does their testing. How far down the road does live trading come from them? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be weeks or months. So I can't give you a date. All right, perfect spot to end. I do got to run. Thanks for the questions. info@trade-ideas if you have any follow-ups. And I'll see you guys next time. Got to run. Bye.